everyone. Today we are discussing a topic that has generated a considerable debate across legal, political and social circle. That is the proposed National Commission for Men Bill 2025. We'll not just be looking at the highlights, but we'll examine the issues that led to the introduction of this bill and what it seeks to achieve and whether India really requires such an institution. We have with us Mr. Avichal Sinha, founder of Lex Tech Consulting Services. Welcome you to this podcast, sir.
Thank you so much, Professor Damini, for inviting me to this wonderful campus.
Let me begin with the larger picture. There has been a considerable discussion on the gender-neutral justice. So what exactly the current scenario is in India, whether the existing institution do not serve or any justice to men, or how about the grievance that is being faced by men? What do you believe on the momentum which created to the introduction of this commission?
It's a very good question and very critical as well. We already know that we have statutory commissions existing, for women, child rights, minorities, for SCs and STs. But there is no dedicated for men. Apart from this, if you see NCRB data over like last 10-20 years, it shows that almost 70% of the suicides is committed by male people, and the prime reason for such suicides have been family, marital issues, etc. So definitely this is a growing concern. Apart from this, there are judicial concerns pertaining to the misuse of the existing laws, like misuse of 498A now, which is section 85 of BNS, and other frivolous cases filed against men. So judiciary is also concerned about cases being piled up on such base which is affecting male. It's not about a substantive, gap. It's more about institutional gap. So, this is why, because Mr. Ashok Kumar Mittal put this forward as a private bill in December 2025, basically to address, the institutional gap, which is the need to have an institution dedicated to hear the grievances put forward by men.
So many people also widely discuss about the Sia Ketan Agarwal case. So do you believe that this case highlighted the problems or the existing problem, or what was the social perspective about men's right? Or was this a turning point case?
Yeah, this case at Lohagarh Fort, it is acting as a catalyst. There is already existing concern over the frivolous and vexatious cases being filed up and misuse of law. But the cases like this, which is I think is still under investigation, and probably commenting too much on the case may not be advisable. But this gives a kind of face to the issue. The issue is already existing. It just catalyzes it and makes it important to discuss and have a debate that is there a need to have an independent forum for men also, because had there been a forum, the relatives of the deceased could have visited the forum for the rights that were violated. This is something which is adding to the already gearing up debate and the base to have a distinct independent commission to address issues raised by men.
So over decades there has been a consistent focus on safeguards and protection for women. So why do you think there's an imbalance in the perspective of gender neutral laws? And also, is it the right time to have a broader discussion on also talking about the protection for men with respect to laws?
Post-independence, the policymakers correctly analyzed that women, the marginalized group, they are already harassed and they are the victims. That's what they realized. And based on this foundational assumptions, different laws to protect them were created. And also there are commissions for women, minorities, SC, that we talked about. And then there are specific framework and acts like protection against domestic violence, protection against dowry. So, but yeah, with time, society has changed a lot. So based on this evolution and changes, we see a shift. Now, because of so many things and dynamism that we see in society, we have seen a very high surge in, false accusations against men, be it workplace, be it family life, be it society. So this is concerning. And, this also kind of gives this all talk a legislative shape to have a better debate, to have a rational consensus as do we really need a separate commission or a separate platform where the grievances of the men can be addressed.
So also when we think about the National Commission for Men, the assumption is that the counterpart existing commission, that is National Commission for Women. So what is the role of Commission for Men specified in the present bill?
There is already Commission for Women. This is a gender-specific commission. Now, when we talk about men's commission, this is not something which is countering the existing women commission. This is something I believe will complement the existing one. You see, societies across the globe, they are moving towards gender neutrality. People talk about, and also crime has no face, crime has no religion, and so is victim. Victim can be anyone. In this case, victim is a male. So I think talking about having men's commission is the right approach, because there are platforms for other groups. So there is a need to talk about, and then probably if there is a consensus, there is a rational decision on that, then probably it's going to a good direction to have a men's commission in place.
So what are the principal functions of this commission for men? Does it only receive complaints or the false accusations, or the men who claims that they are victims of false accusation of dowry related cases or property dispute, or is there any other function beyond this?
I think, what I understand from this bill, the information, is that, unlike Women Commission, which is a part of, Ministry of Women and Child Welfare, this commission would sit under Ministry of Law and Justice. So that is the fundamental difference, first thing. And, it's this. The purpose is just not to have heard the grievances and inquiring into those, the complaints, which is against, the violation of men's right, but also to review policies, procedures which are affecting men's rights. And just not that, if you see what happens in prolonged litigation, it badly affects mental and physical health of people. So it's just not about the dispute resolution, but it's also about have a kind of a 360-degree framework which provides remedy, in all respect. Because the agony, the consequences that it has is long-lasting. The dispute is settled, the person is disturbed forever. So who is going to look after it? So I think it's a correct, talk that we are having. The time has come that we talk and, make sure that it is in place.
So as you mentioned about the procedure and the long-standing proceedings, with respect to the procedures, it's an assumption that the bill gives certain civil powers, civil court investigation powers to the commission. And also about the long-standing proceeding, is there any fast-track mechanism wherein it serves justice, gender-neutral justice?
Yeah, first thing is that, it's not a court, it's a commission. And the outcome of the course of actions, the course of activities that happen within the commission is still recommendatory in nature. But having said this, it has got wider, authorities in terms of advising government, central government and state government to make amendments in the existing gender-specific acts which is affecting men's rights. And also, and then coming to civil courts, power, I would say just like any other commission, it will have powers of inquiring into the matters, summoning people, and then investigating into the documents, other artifacts to make sure that the person gets justice. So it will have the way CPC works and the way it provides powers and authorities to the civil court. This bill, if becomes act, will provide such powers to the commission also.
So justice also depends upon the coordination of two different institutions. So how far is the proposed commission willing to coordinate with the state commissions or the investigation agencies?
It's fine to have an act in place, but when it comes to the implementation, the ground reality part, that's the challenge. So it is required that there is enough support from the the participating agencies, the investigating agencies, the state bodies who are advised on such matters, because that can be a bottleneck. There is a recommendation put forward by the commission, but if the if the authorities or the courts or the government, be it central or state government, are not able to implement it, then it just becomes a piece of paper, a recommendation which has no action. So to make it actionable, it's important that all the bodies, all the stakeholders, the interested parties act in alliance, in accordance with the objective of this bill.
So, if at all this bill is enacted, then will this legislation reshape the perspective of India towards domestic violence, workplace harassments, or sexual harassments that the men are being falsely accused of or looked upon?
Yeah, definitely. There are two aspects of it. First aspect is that, the existing laws are still benefiting people who are real victims. And, and we say that a mere possibility or a presumption that a law is being misused does not make it unconstitutional. So, the existing laws and the commissions for welfare of women, children, minorities, they're all fine. But at the same time, there is a need for such platform to be heard for issues and grievances raised by men. So definitely, it's a step towards, I would say, gender neutrality. In a way, it's a kind of providing equal opportunity to a male victim to be heard. And if you see the other societies, other countries like that of UK and Australia, most of the laws are gender independent, because victim is a victim. And also in our constitution itself, we talk about Article 14, right to equality. Everybody is equal before law. They must get equal treatment before law also. Another thing is Article 21, right to life and personal liberty, right to privacy. So this applies to everyone. So I think it's in the right direction.
So no legislative proposal is without criticism. So in India, we believe that men already have a structural advantage in this society. So is it really necessary to have a statutory established commission for the welfare of men?
Any individual who is a victim has the right to be heard, has the right to be heard on the right forum. Here in this case, we're talking about Men's Commission. Just because the structured group is having an advantage, a leverage over decades, does not make a victim liable to be unheard. The beauty of our constitution is that it tries to bring equality, right? So I think victim is a victim, irrespective of what gender the person belongs to, he or she must be heard.
So beyond the legal reforms, does this proposed bill also looks into men's mental distress and the emotional stress that they go through due to the prolonged litigations or the false accusations once they are not found guilty of anything? Does this bill focus on their emotional mental health?
See, when we talk about atrocities and cruelty, it has got two aspects. One is physical, one is mental. We all talk about physical atrocities and providing solution, compensation for that. Nobody talks about the damages the cruelty does to the male, or for that matter any victim. It has got long lasting impact. To my information and to my knowledge, this bill also covers this aspect where it talks about providing legal aid and counseling to men who are undergoing prolonged litigation and are suffering because of such cases. So there is a place for that, so that it brings kind of all-round remedy and recourse to the person who is a victim of false accusation or any other frivolous cases that has been filed against him.
So talking about false accusation, many a times media plays a huge role in public perception. So before the judiciary or the judge gives any decision, the media has its own assumption on it, and it creates a huge impact on the public. So do you think there has to be an accountability on the medias when they falsely show the news, and even though the man is not guilty of that offense, how about his reputation and the defamation that he has faced?
These days, especially if you see with so much surge in the use of social media. Already we had print media, television, and now social media. So media trial at times goes catastrophic, and judiciary also gets impacted by it because media forms a perception. It takes away, the emotions of the people, and everybody starts talking about the victim or the perpetrator, and this is something which is, I believe, unconstitutional. And that's why we have Press Council of India. We have Forum for Film and Media to deal and to regulate such things. And now, if you see the Information Technology Act, Section 69A talks about, gives power to any central or state government to, take away such snippets or information which is trying to do such trial. And also, we have intermediary guidelines in 2021 which covers media ethics, code of conduct also. So this makes media also liable in case if they are going against the matter and kind of doing a trial, which is unnecessarily creating issues for people who are already victim. And at times they publish the images of the victims, their families, making them more vulnerable. So they must be regulated. Just not about TRP. Somebody's life is getting impacted and people are making money out of it, which is not only unethical, it is illegal also. So there has to be a regulation, and they cannot take safe harbor, which is Section 79 of IT Act. If they are not having a due diligence while publishing such information, they are liable to be punished and prosecuted because they are playing with somebody's life just to make money.
Rightly said, sir. Finally, stepping back from legislative reforms, do you believe that this proposed bill is going to bring a balanced discussion on the gender-neutral justice in India?
Yeah, it is a need of the hour. Now, when we say that we are developing country, we see how we are progressing with respect to other developed countries, United States of America, UK. I gave example of United Kingdom and Australia. When in European Union, all these developed countries are moving towards gender neutral laws. And I believe India is also heading in the same direction, because what we see as an act or bill is something which is a reflection of our society. What is happening in our society, in our daily life, impacts everyone. Be it normal citizen, be a politician. Even a politician is a part of society. So what impacts a normal human being can impact that person's family also. There has to be a rational call on this. It's high time. When we talk about equality, we talk about giving fair opportunities to women and marginalized society. We have to see that perspective, as in everybody is getting equal treatment. And since there is a forum for all the people who were suffering, there is a need for forum for men. And I think it's the right step towards gender neutrality, because one way it will provide a forum for somebody's grievances to be heard, and then it will check the misuse of any existing law. So it's a kind of two-way positive treatment, I would say.
Thank you so much for your insights, sir. That was truly an amazing discussion on the most highlighted topic, that is gender neutral justice. So we conclude with the bill that seeks to achieve the objectivities of it, the issues which led to the proposal of this National Commission for Men's Bill 2025, which is a highlighted topic in the legal and the social circle. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Damini, and it was really a wonderful discussion. Thank you for inviting me to your campus. These academic discussions are very important while we talk about such bills, which is still to be debated.